Today we're going to be covering mages in the 2024 Player's Handbook. We're going to take a look at how sorcerers, warlocks, and wizards have changed from the 2014 version to the 2024 version. This is the last video in this little mini-series because I've already covered all of the other classes, so go check those videos out if you haven't already seen them. And as with all the videos in this series, we're not going to be talking about subclasses today, only the core classes. And then later I'll go back and do videos on the subclasses. But before we get started, if you want early access to my content or you want access to my subscription box, head on over to Patreon. And I actually have a new perk for Patreon subscribers. My Patreon subscribers are now going to be getting 40% off of everything on my Etsy and on Start Playing Games. Over on my Etsy store, I sell painted Dungeons & Dragons miniatures, as well as offering my custom mini painting services. And then on Start Playing Games, I have several ongoing campaigns, as well as my fairy tale inspired one-shot, The Enchanted Forest. And if you're interested in graphic design, marketing, and things like that, go check out my UPWORK. And one more thing before we start is that I'm still fucking bitter that sorcerers and warlocks don't get their subclass at level 1 anymore. I ranted all about it in my video doing my initial thoughts on the 2024 handbook. I ranted about it again when I talked about clerics. I even made a comment on it when I talked about paladins, even though paladins have always gotten their oath at level 3. I just don't think it makes any sense. All of these classes in my mind need their subclass at level 1, or else the concept just loses strength, and like I said, it doesn't make any sense. But I'm going to avoid rambling about that for the rest of this video. I just want to throw it out there now since it applies to 2 out of the 3 classes that we're going to be talking about today. But with that aside, let's see what's brewing in the bloodlines of sorcerers. As always, we're going to start with proficiencies and starting equipment. Sorcerers got the same treatment that druids did, where they used to have proficiency in only certain weapons, but they've simplified it to just simple weapons in general. So sorcerers used to get daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, and light crossbows. And now they just get simple weapons. The skill options are still all the same. And for starting equipment, sorcerers now get a spear, 2 daggers, an arcane focus, and they recommend a crystal, a dungeoneer's pack, and 28 gold, or 50 gold. Rather than knowing certain spells, sorcerers now prepare their spells and can change them when they level up. I mentioned this before, but this is another change that they made that I'm not a huge fan of. They basically got rid of the idea of knowing spells in the new version, and everyone just prepares spells. But I think for certain classes like sorcerers and warlocks, the idea of only knowing certain spells makes a lot more sense than being able to just change them all willy-nilly. At level 1, rather than getting their subclass, sorcerers are now going to get innate sorcery, which is a new feature. It's basically a barbarian's rage, but for sorcerers. So as a bonus action, you can activate your innate sorcery for 1 minute. While it's active, the spell save DC of your sorcerer spells is going to increase by 1, and you have advantage on the attack rolls of sorcerer spells that you cast. You can do this twice, and then you need to take a long rest. I do think that this is a really cool ability because it represents like this burst of magic. I feel like that's just really in line with the flavor of the class. At level 2, sorcerers are now going to get Font of Magic and Meta Magic, which makes a lot more sense than before because you used to just get Font of Magic at level 2 and then Meta Magic at level 3, and you just couldn't really use your sorcery points until you got Meta Magic at level 3. So now you just get both of them at level 2. Font of Magic is going to give you your sorcery points, and like before, you have a number equal to your level. You can still use your sorcery points to create spell slots, but they've closed a loophole that used to allow sorcerers to get spell slots higher than the spells that they actually have. So as an example, at level 7 you have 7 sorcery points, which is the amount that you need to get a 5th level spell slot. Except you don't actually get a 5th level spell slot yourself until level 9. The problem with this loophole is when you select your spells, you're only allowed to select ones for the levels of spell slots that you have. So yeah, the old one would allow a 7th level character to create a 5th level spell slot, but you don't actually know a 5th level spell to cast yet. Unless you just cast, for example, Magic Missile at a higher level. But anyways, the new version actually adds a level requirement to stop you from doing that. So you can exchange 7 sorcery points for a 5th level spell slot, but only once you reach level 9. And at level 9 you get your first 5th level spell slot. And this applies to all of the spell slots, I'm just using the 5th level one as an example. But Font of Magic is the boring part. Let's talk Meta Magic. First of all, you now get more Meta Magic options. You still start out with 2, but rather than gaining 1 more at level 10 and 1 more at level 17, you're going to get 2 more at level 10 and 2 more at level 17. This means you can get just over half of the meta magic options that are available to you. I think we'll cover these meta magic options a little more in depth when we talk about sorcerer subclasses, but for now they've added 2 new options, Seeking Spell and Transmuted Spell, and both of these are from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I've said this before, but I love how much they included from Tasha's in the new book. At level 5, sorcerers are now going to get Sorceress Restoration. This used to be a feature that you got at level 20 as a sorcerer, and it would let you regain 4 sorcery points when you took a short rest. But now you get it at level 5, and it's going to let you regain sorcery points equal to half your sorcerer level, rounded down, whenever you take a short rest. There's another new feature at level 7 called Sorcery Incarnate. So if you've already used both of your uses of Innate Sorcery, you can now use 2 sorcery points to activate it. And also, while Innate Sorcery is active, you can use 2 meta magic options on the same spell. And then other than meta magic and subclass stuff, you don't get another feature until level 19 when you get your epic boon. And their recommended choice is the boon of dimensional travel. And finally, at level 20, you get a feature called Arcane Apotheosis. And this one is insane, definitely worthy of being a level 20 feature. Whenever your innate sorcery feature is active, you can use 1 meta magic option on each of your turns for free. And usually in these videos I do the spell list at the beginning of the class, but this time I saved it to the end, because it's my channel and I can do whatever I want. So now let's look at sorcerer spells. For cantrips they added Mind Sliver, Sorcerer's Burst, and Thunderclap. For first level spells they added Grease and Ice Knife. For second level spells they added Arcane Vigor, Dragon's Breath, Flame Blade, Flaming Spear, Magic Weapon, and Mind Spike. For third level spells they just added Vampiric Touch. For fourth level spells they added Charm Monster, Fire Shield, and Vitriolic Sphere. For fifth level spells they added Bigby's Hand and Synaptic Static. For sixth level spells they added Flesh to Stone and Ataluke's Freezing Sphere? Ataluke? The 7th level spells are all the same. For 8th level spells they added Demiplane, and then for 9th level spells they're the same again. And that's it for sorcerers. I think that they did a really good job in adding features that feel like things that a sorcerer should do, like the innate spell casting and how they've expanded the meta magic. It just feels more like the mechanics are actually supporting the concept of the class. And that's something that I can say for this book in general. But anyways, let's make a pact to explore Warlocks. First of all, their proficiencies and skills are still all exactly the same. And for starting equipment, they're going to get leather armor, a sickle, 2 daggers, an arcane focus, and they say an orb, a book of occult lore, a scholar's pack, and 15 gold, or 100 gold. At level 1, rather than getting your subclass / patron, you get 1 Eldritch Invocation. Like I said with the meta magic options, we're going to talk about these when we talk about the Warlock subclasses. But one thing that I think is interesting and I want to mention now is they've gotten rid of the Pact Boons feature at level 3. So now instead, the Pact of the Blade, Pact of the Chain, and Pact of the Tome are all now Eldritch Invocations. You also get a lot more Eldritch Invocations in general as you level up. And the spell slots for Pact Magic all still work exactly the same, which, to be honest, is a little bit of a shame. I just wish that Warlocks got some new spell slots. At level 2, there's a new feature called Magical Cunning. This is going to let you perform an esoteric rite for 1 minute, at the end of which you're going to gain back a number of spell slots equal to half your maximum, and they're going to let you round that up. Once you do this, you can't do it again until you finish a long rest. This is super helpful because, like I said, Warlocks don't get very many spell slots. So no, they didn't give them more spell slots, but they at least gave them this. There's another new feature at level 9 called Contact Patron. The short version is that you can basically contact your patron once per long rest. The slightly longer version is that you always have the Contact Other Plane spell prepared. With this feature, you can cast the spell without expending a spell slot to contact your patron, and you automatically succeed on the spell's saving throw. Once you cast the spell with this feature, you can't do so in this way again until you finish a long rest. So yeah, basically you can contact your patron once per long rest. Mystic Arcanum is still exactly the same. I don't even think they really changed the text that much. And like everyone else, Warlocks are going to get their epic boon at level 19, and the recommended choice is the Boon of Fate. And finally, at level 20, Warlocks get Eldritch Master. But instead of saying you can spend 1 minute entreating your patron for aid to regain all of your expended spell slots, and then you need to take a long rest before you can do that again, they just say that when you use your Magical Cunning feature, you regain all of your spell slots. It's the same thing, they just basically added Magical Cunning as like a precursor. It's funny because a lot of the classes stayed pretty similar in the beginning levels, and then it was like level 10 onward that got rewritten. But for Warlocks, it seems like they changed the first few levels a lot, and then left the higher levels alone. But let's look at spells, shall we? For Cantrip, they added Mind Sliver, Thunderclap, and Toll the Dead. For first level spells, they added Bane, Detect Magic, Speak with Animals, and Tasha's Hideous Laughter. Tasha's Hideous Laughter is a bit of a surprise for me. I thought Warlocks already got that, but I guess not. For second level spells, they've added Mind Spike, and they removed Shatter. For third level spells, they added Summon Fae and Summon Undead. For fourth level spells, they added Charm Monster and Summon Aberration. For fifth level spells, they added Jalarzi Storm of Radiance, Mislead, Planar Binding, Synaptic Static, and Teleportation Circle. Keep in mind, the 6th through 9th level spells that I'm about to go over are only available through Mystic Arcanum. because ordinarily Warlocks only get spell slots up to 5th level. So for 6th level spells, they've removed Conjure Fey, Flesh to Stone, and Mass Suggestion. And they added Summon Fiend and Tasha's Bubbling Cauldron. 7th level spells are all the same. The only change for 8th level spells is that they replaced Feeble Mind with Befuddlement. And then for 9th level spells, they added Gate and Weird. And that's it for Warlocks. And last but not least, time to open up the spellbook and take a look at Wizards. Before I start though, I want to say that I've always thought that Warlocks are a pretty simple class. And right when I say that, this is about the time that everyone's like, Tyler, what the fuck are you talking about? But hear me out. Wizards as a class are pretty simple. It's just their spells that make them complicated. They don't really get that many features, so you can throw together a wizard character sheet in like 2 seconds. And then obviously the other thing that makes them hard is that they have like 5 hit points. So I'm interested to get into the new version and see if that's still the case or if they've added more new features. First of all, looking at the skills, they added nature as an option. And again, rather than giving you daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, and light crossbows, they just give you simple weapons. For starting equipment, they're going to get 2 daggers, an arcane focus, they recommend a staff, a robe, a spellbook, a scholar's pack, and 5 gold, or 55 gold. Interestingly, it now says that your spellbook can only be read by you or by somebody who's casting Identify. So that's a cool new change. All the rest of the spellbook stuff, like how to copy spells into your book, is all the same. At first level, you get a new feature called Ritual Adept, and let me just read it to you. You can cast any spell as a ritual if that spell has the ritual tag and the spell is in your spellbook. You needn't have the spell prepared, but you must read from the book to cast a spell in this way. And at first reading that, I was confused, because like, can't everyone do that? So after looking up rituals in the new book and in the old book, I figured out that the important part here is that with this feature, wizards don't need to have the spell prepared. Everyone else needs to have the spell prepared. You still get Arcane Recovery at level 1. The only difference is now once you use it, you have to take a long rest before you can use it again. There's a new feature at level 2 called Scholar, which just gives you expertise in one of the skills that you get from being a wizard. They kind of are throwing expertise all around in this new book. Because even though I know it's a thing for other classes, I always just kind of associate that with rogues, but that's not really a thing anymore. There's a new feature at level 5 called Memorize Spell, and this is just going to let you swap out one of your prepared spells whenever you take a short rest. At level 18, you still get Spell Mastery, but it's going to have one big tweak. It used to be that you needed to have the spell prepared. In the new version, part of this feature is that you just always have it prepared. And then at level 19, wizards get their epic boon, and the recommended choice is the Boon of Spell Recall. And at level 20, you still get signature spells, and it still works the same way. So they did add a couple things, but really nothing that interesting. So let's look at the actually important part of playing a wizard, because we all know that you don't play a wizard because of the class features. For cantrips, they've added Elementalism, Mind Sliver, Thunderclap, and Toll the Dead. For first level spells, they added Ice Knife. For second level spells, they added Arcane Vigor, Augury, Dragon's Breath, Enhance Ability, and Mind Spike. For third level spells, they added Speak with Dead, Summon Fey, and Summon Undead. And I'm really surprised that wizards didn't have Speak with Dead. I really thought that they did. For fourth level spells, they added Charm Monster, Divination, Summon Aberration, Summon Construct, Summon Elemental, and Vitriolic Sphere. For 5th level spells, they added Circle of Power, Jolarsi's Storm of Radiance, Steel Wind Strike, Summon Dragon, Synaptic Static, and Yolanda's Royal Presence. Is it Yolanda? Yolanda? I think it's Yolanda. These spells with some wizard's name in front of it kill me. For 6th level spells, they added Summon Fiend and Tasha's Bubbling Cauldron. The 7th level spells are still all the same. For 8th level spells, once again, Feeble Mind was replaced with Befuddlement. And then the 9th level spells are still all the same too. I'm noticing a pattern. The 7th and 9th level spells don't change. And that's it for those 3 classes. And we are officially done covering all of the 12 classes in the 2024 book. I definitely feel like out of these 3, surprisingly, the Sorcerer was kind of the standout. I mean, I've always liked Sorcerers. To me, they always kind of give like X-Men vibes. I hope at some point they come out with a new version of the Artificer. I was disappointed to not see it featured in the player's handbook alongside the other classes. I just think it's like the ugly step-sibling of D&D classes. It's like often Tasha's Cauldron of everything with all the weird shit. But like, they included a bunch of Tasha's Cauldron stuff in here, so why not the Artificer? Soon we're going to be covering subclasses in the 2024 version, and taking a little bit closer of a look at each class. Which class is your favorite? Which class should I cover the subclasses of first? In the meantime, I have a few other videos kind of brewing. I'm actually scheduling this video ahead of time from a hotel, because by the time this goes up, I'll be on a cruise. and actually my first cruise ever. So I'm thinking about doing a little cruise vlog. And I have tons of other D&D videos that I'd like to make. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and subscribe and ring the bell so that you get notified every time I post a video. And let me know if you have any questions about the new 2024 version. And I'll see you next week. That's kind of actually stupid. I don't know why I wrote that. Apotheosis? Arcane apotheosis. Apotheosis? Apotheosis? Apotheosis.